Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I am so glad you have found me. First, last, and always, thank you very much to my subscribers and viewers. I very much appreciate the comments, the likes, all of it. Thank you very much. Just an aside for a second, if you're hearing kind of some noise in the background, here in Alberta, we are under a bit of a sustained rain, and I have a skylight in my house, and what you're hearing is the rain hitting the skylight, and we're super grateful for the rain because, as you may or may not be aware, we're having a bit of an issue with forest fires, particularly north and actually south of where I am. So hopefully the rain will tamp that down. So, just so in case you're hearing strange noises, aside from the cat meowing and the dogs barking. Okay, so I have a question. This one was actually prompted by a bit of a conversation that was going on in reaction to one of the videos I did, where people were sort of questioning whether, Trump had been abused as a child, whether a woman had particularly hurt him and caused sort of the behavior, that we've now come to recognize as particularly Trumpian. So I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on that. The question just simply boils down to, Trump abused or abuser? So let's give these cards a quick shuffle. Hang on. Okay, truths, secrets came flying out, so and death got left on the table. Okay, so let's just focus here a little bit and do a bit of a deep dive on Trump. Now, this may, you never kind of know when you ask these questions where these readings can take you. It could take us back to his childhood. It could take us back to 6 months away, since months past. Or it could take us back into previous lifetimes and life experiences. So we're just going to kind of see where this takes us. And let's get on with it. So bring this down. And here we go. Trump, abuser or abused? Trump, abuser or abused? Trump, abuser or abused? So, this represents Trump. This represents this sort of tendency or behavior to jump first and figure out how you're going to land in mid-flight. The bottom line with this guy is that he doesn't care. He doesn't care what anybody thinks or says. He doesn't care if they're hurt. He doesn't care if he insults them. They are literally of no importance to him. So, again, the question is, what makes him that way? What has gone on in his lifetime or in his soul experience to create that kind of sociopath, narcissistic, and misogynistic, all the other istic words that apply to him? There's definitely an internal struggle that goes on within him. This is not a person who is peaceful within their own body, within their own mind, within their own soul. He is constantly in a state of chaos. He is constantly battling this demon or fighting that war, or, that's kind of what we have. He has been that way a really long time. Certainly in childhood, he was a bully. It's just plain and simple. Now, he was bullied, frankly, by his father, who had an amazing preoccupation with money and possessions and building his wealth. And this, that was what he thought about. He thought about, creating that dynasty. That was what he wanted. And he made sure that his children, to varying degrees, were involved in, one, supporting and creating those visions, and two, they became a way for him to, as we've all come to learn, a way for him to funnel money so that, he didn't have to pay as much taxes. He didn't have to contribute to the very society that he was benefiting from, and frankly, taking to the cleaners at the same time. So that was part of the environment that he was raised in. And to some degree, that very much shaped his outlook and his behavior going forward. His parents' marriage definitely has had a significant impact on his perceptions in this lifetime. His father was a bully, and his mother was complacent. She was of that attitude that the man rules the roost, what he says goes. Her job is to be submissive and supportive. So she very rarely actually questioned what Fred was doing. Now, make no mistake, she very well could have been sort of his strength, who Fred leaned on to sustain him as he was creating his little, empire. But while he may have leaned on her, he didn't actually value her opinion so much. He didn't really respect her. He expected her to know her place and stay in her place. And as a result, Trump has mimicked that behavior. So that's what he looks for in a wife. He looks for someone who is submissive and someone who will, honor him and respect him and pay no mind to anything he does, like multiple affairs, lying, cheating, stealing, because they understand that that's how you stay on Trump's good side. You just let him get away with this stuff. And I mean, that is the problem with Trump. The problem with him, boiled down into a nutshell, is that he has always gotten away with stuff. He just has a way of carrying himself, of expressing himself, that puts people in a continual position of, in order to tell him the truth or in order to push back, you almost instinctively and automatically become his enemy. It becomes a fight. He is completely incapable of hearing, you're wrong, or maybe that's not correct, without taking it completely personally, and then you become his enemy that he has to destroy. And frankly, that includes his wives. He tries so hard to be part of the club, and he's always left in the cold because, people don't like him. On a just basic level, they don't like who he is. They want him removed from their circle. They want him taken down. They don't like being friends with him. They may be friends with him for business or political or social reasons, but they don't like him, and they don't like being associated and affiliated with him. There's too many secrets, there's just too many secrets. There's too many underhanded dealings. But he's forever trying to get into the it club, whatever that club is in the moment. And he just doesn't have what it takes to be in that environment. And part of it really simply boils down to he doesn't know how to be part of a group. He always wants to be leader of the group. He doesn't know how to be mindful and respectful of other people and their opinions. That's not important to him. So for goodness sakes, how on earth are you going to become part of a club? He's always been really preoccupied by money. He always, and I've said this before, his primary thought is money and possessions and how do I get what I want and what I believe I should have. In a twisted kind of way, he came to the planet with the kind of personality that would have made him a leader in, I suppose you could say, his chosen field. And since she was born into a family that involved, construction and building and that kind of thing, he could have had the potential to become really, really good at it. But instead, he bastardized those personality traits that would have made him successful. And frankly, it turned him just into a bully, a narcissistic bully. The male-female relationship has always been a little twisted in his head and a little bit just out of reach. He never quite gets what he wants, what he's looking for, who he thinks he deserves. It's always been sort of a mystery to him how to make and sustain a healthy, loving, balanced relationship. Now, said that, it's been a mystery to him, but he has also, not really put any effort into figuring out how to make it work or compromising or bending a little bit. It's simply beyond him. It's all about what he thinks. It's all about what he feels. It's all about skating out of trouble and skittering off and changing directions and the ball's over here, don't look it over here. That has been his whole life. It would be fascinating, although I have to tell you, I am not strong enough to do it, so I won't be doing it. But it would be really interesting to sort of go back and watch public interviews that he has done, over literally the last 30 or 40 years and see exactly how many times he has answered a question directly that is not somehow flattering to him. How many times does he just divert attention? That is what he does. If if he doesn't like what you're saying or he doesn't like the way things are going, he diverts attention and plows forward, pushes forward in his own way. He's forever trying to get onto stable, sustainable ground. And honestly, it's just not part of what he does. He actually, ironically, has a fear of people in authority, whether it is religious authority, government authority, legal authority. He's scared of them. He doesn't, and in part, for goodness sake, because he doesn't take not 1 minute of time to actually figure out how these systems work and what they represent and what they're about. And so they're a mystery to him. And so that which we don't understand tends to scare us because it feels like this dark void that when we don't know what's going on in there. But again, that is of his own making because he is the one who just simply chooses to not put in any time, energy, or effort. And that is because he has really skated through life. Anybody thinks that he had got good grades in school and he was a genius. Not true. And so he fakes. He has gone through his whole life faking and pretending. Judgment's upon him now. People are watching his personality and they're not liking what they're seeing. And, I want to say it sort of breaks his heart, but I'm not actually convinced he has a heart that it is actually capable of breaking, because in order for your heart to get broken, one, you probably need to care about other people more than yourself, so that when they hurt you, it's painful. And I'm not convinced that he's actually capable of that. However, what he does feel is slings. He feels attacks. He feels threats. And that comes from his upbringing as being bullied and then becoming a bully. I do not see or sense any actual abuse from a woman. I think his attitudes toward women are not that he was abused by them, as much as he sees them as less than him and subservient. He always seems to be juggling these two aspects of himself. The aspect of what he really thinks and feels versus what he senses other people want from him. It's kind of sad, right? The bottom line with him is he's a bully. And he's been a bully, I want to say, throughout a lot of his soul experiences. I would venture to say that going backwards, if we actually were able to do a sort of a timeline of past lives, we would see that he has been in positions of authority over other people. And because of that, he carries with him this attitude that he is not to be questioned. He really feels that when he says jump, you're supposed to say how high. As sad as it is to say, the man is simply defective. He's mentally unhealthy and unbalanced. And in some ways, okay, this is the thing. A lot of people have really difficult upbringings. You know, they have crappy parents. They've had horrible things happen to them. But an adult, at some point, takes responsibility for their actions. And they stop blaming today on yesterday. At some point, they say, you know what? Yep, that happened, and that was crap, and I wish it hadn't happened to me. But I'm an adult now, and I'm in charge, and I choose to minimize the impact that yesterday is going to have on today and tomorrow. He's not about that. Doesn't know how to do it, doesn't want to do it, isn't interested in doing it, because he loves being the victim, and he loves being that person who can then blame every single thing in his life on other people. He's not used to being questioned, and he loves to play the victim. So there we go. I'm hoping that this has been helpful. From these cards, I have to say, more abuser than abused. And that's sad. And what's even sadder is that by some really bizarre quirks of fate, he has ended up as the American president, and he is putting not only America, but the globe into jeopardy with his insanity. So, I'm not sure if that was especially comforting, but I do hope that, sorry, this bra of mine's making me crazy. I do hope that you found it insightful and perhaps helpful. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to what I have to say. I love your comments, your likes, and the new subscribers are amazing. Thank you very, very much. We'll see you soon, and be well. Bye-bye.